Fauna. It is all the animal life present in a particular region or time. There are two classifications, flora for plants and fauna for animals. And we all know that plants and animals is our source of food and life. But what did we do in this beautiful creation? Did you know that human activity is causing environmental degradation, destruction of ecosystem, the destruction of animals' habitat, and extinction of wildlife and pollution? So is this not enough reason to consider humanity as invasive?
Invasive species are non-native organisms that cause considerable damage when introduced to a new area. These species compete with native wildlife for resources and thrive at the expense of the local ecosystem. One of the most notorious invasive species in the Philippines, the cane toads, this rapidly reproducing toads causes erosion and landslides in Mount Canlaon along the Visayas region. But some invasive species, however, are introduced intentionally. In the early 20th century, backyard farming with snails and slugs are introduced in the Philippines. However, today these mollusks proceeded to eat crops and vegetations, which caused the decline of rice in the Visayas region. But it's not just animals that are invasive. It can be in many forms. It can be something that lives in the land or something that lives in the water. It can be plants or an animal. It can even be a microbe. The important thing to know about an invasive species is that it causes harm and it's not native.
So are we invasive species? Yes, we are invasive species because us humans have this innate characteristic that has been existing and acknowledging over the past few years ever since human has been walking through the earth, and that is our survival instinct. Now, we have been thinking and also innovating more efficient ideas that would improve our state of livelihood and also meet our demands. Humans nowadays have become more adjusted to common living conditions, and compared to before in the beginning of time where we don't know much about the things around us. And the desire for growth for humans and also the instinct of innovation where we always have to find a better way that can make our lives easier, which concludes to the point that we are invasive species because we are growing in an area and we have a great potential to cause harm to the environment or the economy or the human health, which we are using fossil fuels, we are using the resources, which is why we are invasive species.
What is the carbon cycle? Well, the carbon cycle is the process in which carbon atoms travel from the atmosphere to the earth and then back to the atmosphere. There are 4 steps in the carbon cycle. First, carbon enters the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Second, carbon dioxide is absorbed by autotrophs such as plants. After that, animals consume plants, thereby incorporating carbon into their system. And lastly, animals and plants die. Their bodies decompose and the carbon is later reabsorbed by the atmosphere. Why is the carbon cycle so important? Well, the carbon cycle is important because carbon is a building block of life and forms stable bonds with other elements necessary for life.
How does humans affect this cycle? Humans are increasingly burning fossil fuels. When we burn fossil fuels, most of the carbon quickly enters the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Consequently, there are more carbon dioxide emissions. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas and traps heat in the atmosphere. In addition, we take part in deforestation where trees are cut down, meaning, once again, carbon dioxide levels increase. Cutting down trees and over-harvesting plants means less photosynthesis occurs. Subsequently, less oxygen is being released and less carbon dioxide levels are being absorbed. Overall, human activity causes carbon emissions.
What did this effect do to the past few years on Earth? Humans as invasive species can be harmful to the lives of many organisms and also to the environment. We have the ability to continuously spread throughout the years and destroy many habitats and cycles that are present in the world. In terms of the carbon cycle, animals along with plants play a big role and they greatly contribute to the whole cycle itself. If humans were happen to be regarded as invasive species, they could become the obstacle to these native organisms that could hinder the sustainable economic growth and the development in the surroundings, where it may even result in the disruption of the energy flow. Not only the living things, but also the Earth's atmosphere is affected by the impediment caused by humans. As we see today, invasive species can be really dangerous to any kind of life on the planet.
Can we humans stop being invasive? Absolutely not. Carbon emission is part of our daily lives. However, we can lessen to be invasive. But how? We can use our bicycles or simply walk if we are going to a place near in our house. Instead of bringing your personal car, you can commute to lessen the emission of gas. Also, participate on tree planting activities, or you can lessen the use of paper so that you can save trees and save the habitats of the animal. You can practice the 3 R's: reuse, reduce, and recycle in order to contribute on lessening the carbon emissions and saving trees. These are just few ways to save the environment and lessening the anthropogenic effects. It's not too late to do this. Start now so you will not regret after.